What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing another monthly Q&A, this one being the Q&A for July 2021. Now, before we get into the actual questions, this video is actually sponsored by Dragon City, which is a free-to-play game on both Android and iOS, but also on Windows and Amazon. In Dragon City, you can collect over 1,000, yes, 1,000 different dragons and build your own Dragon City, and you're also able to breed multiple different dragons to create new ones and then feed those new dragons to evolve them. You can then build your team of dragons and train them to become even more powerful, and then lead them into battles against your friends or even challenge other dragon masters from all around the world in different online PvP battles. On top of that, there are also multiple events each and every week and new adventures to play, such as the Maze, Runner, Grid or Heroic Race. The Runner is probably my favourite of those to play so far. I've downloaded this game just last week and have essentially been completely and utterly addicted since then. So if you guys don't see any videos in the next few weeks, then at least you guys know why. Now, you can even find a lot of your favourite YouTubers in Dragon City as well. Fundy, Wispy, Dream, George Not Found, Eddie VR, and plenty more can be found in the game. If you guys want to download Dragon City for free and get some awesome rewards such as 15,000 food, 30,000 gold, and the hard to find Citadel Dragon, then click the link in the description or the pinned comment and you guys can actually get all of that completely free while also helping support my content here on YouTube. However, this is only available for 7 days and only for new users. Thanks a ton to Dragon City for sponsoring this video, and with that out of the way, let's get stuck into these questions. Now, moving forward, I'm going to be implementing Patreon questions into the Q&As and then doing the Discord questions at the end. So today we have 4 Patreon questions and 3 from the Discord. The first Patreon question we have is from Alice, who says, would you ever consider getting Zali a brother or sister? Now, for those of you who don't know Zali, Zali is my gorgeous little German Shepherd, or not so little German Shepherd. As for the question, we definitely are going to be getting her probably a brother. We've been wanting to essentially ever since we first got her, but where we currently live, it's just a bit hard to, it's kind of even hard to have her really, because it's we live on such a huge block and then the fence line just isn't that good. So we kind of have to keep her inside most of the time and obviously just let her out when we're sort of supervising her and walk her every day and stuff, but we can't really just let her run around the house by herself because she is a dickhead and she chases kangaroos and stuff like that, and she'll end up getting hit by a car or some shit. So where we're currently living, it's a little bit hard, but as soon as we build our house, we will probably, honestly, the week we move in, we'll be getting her a little brother probably. I've argued with the missus over the name. I wanted something Star Wars, and the only thing we can agree on is Roger, because Roger kind of just suits we're probably going to get another German Shepherd. So yeah, Roger kind of suits a big boy German Shepherd. But then obviously I've snuck in the little Roger reference there. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, we definitely will be getting her a friend to play with, I think. The next question comes from Simon, and he says, do you intend to learn another language sometime? If so, which one? And if not, why not? It is something I've actually thought about quite a bit, to be honest. I don't think I will anytime soon, just because it kind of does take a lot of time to learn a new language, and I honestly just don't have the time at the moment, and it's not really at the top of my priority list. But I do want to, when I'm older, I do want to travel quite a bit, same with the missus, so I think I would love to learn a few languages, but I think I would probably do that when I'm a little bit older, when I've got a bit more time on my hands, hopefully. As for which one, the go-to would probably be French, because I actually did learn French in school. I have just like the very basic knowledge of French, and so I think I would just go for French, since I could probably pick it up fairly easy, just because I already kind of have that knowledge. And unfortunately, I've kind of forgotten like 90% of what I learned because I didn't pay attention in school. But I think once I started studying that, I think I'd pick it up pretty quickly. So I'd probably go French, but there's a lot of European languages I'd love to learn, honestly. But yeah, in terms of any time soon, I unfortunately just don't think I have the time. The next question comes from Daniel, and he says, what are your expectations for the new Cassian Andor series? This is kind of a tough one, honestly, because I don't really have any expectations for it. There's so many other shows that are kind of ahead of it for me in terms of the ones that I'm hyped for. I am definitely keen for Cassian, but yeah, there's like probably 3 or 4 other shows that are sort of above that on my priority list. So as of right now, I don't really have any expectations. I really just hope that it does kind of set up Rogue One a little bit better. Not that I think Rogue One was bad, it's actually one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but it did somewhat start off, we didn't really know who Cassian was and stuff like that. So I hope it does set up his backstory really well. And I really hope that the main thing I'm hoping for is just a lot of K2SO, because I think he is probably one of the better droids in Star Wars, honestly. And so yeah, just seeing those two like sort of create their friendship and, you know, how that happens. It's kind of going to be like a Han and Chewie story where it's like how he, I guess, you know, reprogrammed him to become on the rebel side rather than being Imperial. Really interested in that stuff, and obviously just setting up Rogue One. But yeah, I don't really have actually too much expectation right now, just because, like I said, there's Kenobi and the Ahsoka show I'm really keen for as well. So yeah, there's a lot kind of above that, but I'm sure once it comes out, I'll be a lot more excited for it. Now, the last question from the Patreon comes from Doug, and he says, is there any hope for Star Wars gaming in the next 2 years? That is a very good question, and it is almost a very depressing question at the same time. I'm going to be honest, not much. And you guys know me, I'm a pretty positive person. I always like to look at the positive, and, you know, I don't like to dwell on that negative stuff, but I honestly don't think there's much hope in the next few years. There is obviously going to be a few games. There's going to be Lego Star Wars and Star Wars Hunters. They're both meant to be within the next year. They're kind of were both meant to be this year, and that looks like that's not going to happen. Lego Star Wars has obviously been delayed twice now, and I'm pretty sure that'll come out like early next year. And then Star Wars Hunters is literally meant to be doing a soft launch in summer this year, which is like right now essentially, and we've literally seen a 20-second trailer and that's it. So I kind of feel like Hunters is maybe delayed or possibly even cancelled, just seeing as the other mobile game in Lego Star Wars Battles was just cancelled. So obviously not the same company or anything, but it is possible that it is cancelled. I'd imagine it's not cancelled. I'd imagine it's delayed or something. But yeah, it's kind of getting pretty frustrating, I'll be honest. Going from, you know, 2+ years of Battlefront just being in a really, really good spot, or, you know, it was in a rough spot at the start, but then it did get a lot of content, and it was always exciting, even though it was rough, but it always felt like it was getting better. So there was kind of a 2-year period there where Star Wars gaming was really solid, and then we also got Fallen Order in like the middle of that as well, and then even Squadrons as well. So going from that to, yeah, this kind of really just, this is like the dark times in Star Wars. It doesn't leave me with much hope, to be honest. I know I'm a game changer, and a lot of people tend to think that game changers are all just shills and stuff like that, but I honestly have been fairly critical of EA, probably more critical since I've become a game changer, because now I know that they are actually listening. And I've said it multiple times, I think they really have kind of butchered this whole exclusive license. The games that they have released have been great. I've actually really enjoyed all of them, but the lack of communication and just the lack of games. They've had it for 8 years now, and we've got 4 games, one of which was a 13-hour campaign, and the other one was a $40 game. So they definitely haven't done as good as they could have, and that just doesn't give me too much hope in the next 2 years, just because, yeah, we haven't really heard anything. I know Fallen Order is meant to be coming out probably late next year, or I would say the year after. I'd say 2023 is probably a better bet. But yeah, I guess to answer the question, I honestly don't think there's much hope in the next 2 years. I think after that, once the license is opened up, I think that's going to be amazing. I think there's going to be like multiple games a year from tons of different companies. I think EA will probably pick up their game a bit then, because there's actually going to be competition for once. So when they see that Ubisoft's releasing this game and all that type of stuff, like they're going to have, you know, they're going to be under the pump a little bit, and hopefully that makes them lift their game as well. So I think once we get through that period, it'll be really, really good. But yeah, honestly, until then, like, I don't want to sound negative, but I borderline have no hope. I'm not that excited for anything in the next few years, just because, yeah, these things keep getting delayed and there's no communication and stuff. So I definitely don't have too much hope, unfortunately. Now, moving on to the Discord questions. The first one we have here is from my man Bob, and he says, what's the one biggest thing you think the Clone Wars and Rebels each added thematically to Star Wars that we wouldn't have without them? That is a very well thought out question, and I probably should have planned for this one a little bit better before I read it out. I think for me, I think for Rebels, that's probably the one that comes to mind quicker, is the sort of the lore behind the Force. Kanan and Ezra, they kind of add a little bit of lore to the Force, and we see it in a bit of a different light, I think. And obviously the Force, even still, it is very, like, it's pretty mysterious, considering that Star Wars has been around for 40+ years. We still don't really know that much about the Force at the end of the day. It is kind of up to our own interpretations in a way. So I think Rebels really added to the lore of that and kind of gave it a bit more like structure and a bit more meaning behind it. As for the Clone Wars, not sure about thematically, but like one thing that I think that really added to Star Wars that it wouldn't, we wouldn't have without the Clone Wars is just a lot of depth and context to the prequels in general. The jump between both Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, and then Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith, the jumps were pretty jarring in my opinion. There was kind of like, you start the movie and you're kind of like, what the hell is going on? I've got to like resituate myself and remember like what the hell was happening. For example, like in Revenge of the Sith, when we didn't know who Grievous was, I remember seeing it in the cinema and I was like, damn, that guy's cool, but who the fuck is that guy? Like, I have no idea who General Grievous is, other than just seeing him in the trailers and stuff. So it was a little bit like, yeah, there was a lot of jumps between stuff that it just didn't really make sense at the time, but I think the Clone Wars really added to that and gave us a lot more context and a lot of depth to the characters as well. Like, General Grievous was a pretty almost like random character in Revenge of the Sith, and like that was where he got introduced and then he died by the end of it, so he didn't have that much depth to him. But then obviously in the Clone Wars there's a lot more depth added to Grievous, and same goes for like Dooku and pretty much everyone that's in the movies. They get a lot more depth added to them, and on top of that probably just like the context as well as like what's going on, because obviously the start of Revenge of the Sith, it's like there's a big battle and I guess Attack of the Clones does lead into like, there's obviously a war starting, but it just jumps ahead and there's like, we don't really know what this war necessarily is. So yeah, I don't know if that's really thematically, but yeah, I think the Clone Wars just added so much depth to those movies that it really makes the prequels a lot better than they actually are, if that makes sense. The next question we have is from Sam, and he says, what is it about Star Wars that you think makes it so popular? That is another good question. I think the reason it started to get popular like way back in the day, and obviously I wasn't alive back then, so I have no actual real experience of this, but just going off what everyone else says, like my parents and watching like documentaries and stuff like that. I think the reason it blew up initially was because it was so much different than anything that had been done by then. It was like, we watch A New Hope and stuff like that, and there's a lot of like the, I guess, CGI, for lack of a better word, that it looks pretty like bad these days, but at the time that shit was like never been done before and it looked really, really good back then. So I think the fact that it was kind of like Avatar, where Avatar was like that first big movie that, of our generation, I guess, where everyone went and saw Avatar just because like it got talked up so much, like, holy shit, this thing's massive. That's what she said. And yeah, I think it just blew up because of that mostly, but then also just like the twists and turns in the stories. In the originals, there's like, the first movie, the sort of mentor character is dead halfway through the movie. The second movie, Vader turns out to be Luke's dad. And then the third movie, we find out that Leia is Luke's sister. And then the twist at the end with, Vader killing Palpatine and stuff. So there's obviously a lot of twists and turns that kept people on their feet. And I think that's probably why it initially blew up. And then from there, really, I think once it's that big and then once we keep getting more content, people want to show their kids, and it's just become one of those sort of cult things where it's just, yeah, everyone who likes Star Wars, they want to show their friends and their family and stuff. And yeah, I think it'll just continue to grow that way, really. Like, I know when I have kids, I'll be showing them Star Wars because I think it's awesome. So I'll want to show that to them, and then they'll probably enjoy it, and then they'll want to show their kids and stuff like that. So yeah, I think just that initial boom of Star Wars in 1977 is probably the reason why it is so popular. Now, the very last question we have for this Q&A is from Derpy Snowman, and he says, do you reckon if Battlefield 2042 is bad, then there's a higher chance of Battlefront 3 not being made? That's kind of a tough question, just because it's obviously impossible to tell what their plans are. But I do think if Battlefield 2042 managed to be like an absolute bust, then it might not be good for Battlefront 3, because they might then put all of their developers back on making a new Battlefield and kind of try and revamp the next one. So that could be the case. Like, it could really hurt Battlefront 3 if that were going to be made. Or it could go the other way and they could go, okay, Battlefield for this, this Battlefield is done. Like, it's just not going to do well. And if they, if they were planning on Battlefront 3, then maybe they'd put all the developers onto Battlefront 3. So it could really go either way. It's impossible to tell. We're not even sure if Battlefront 3 is being made or not. And so, yeah, it's impossible to tell, but I think really it can just go either way. If they are planning that, then it could really hurt the game if it were to be made, or it actually could surprisingly help it. So unfortunately, we're just going to have to wait and see. But honestly, I don't see Battlefield 2042 being that bad, just from what we've seen so far. Obviously, we need to play the game and see how it actually is, but personally I don't really think it's going to be that bad of a game at all. So that is going to do it for this month's Q&A, boys and girls. Like I said at the start of the video, every one of these moving forward I am going to be doing the Patreon questions and then the Discord questions at the end. If you guys do want to make sure you get guaranteed answers to your questions, then you can do that by supporting the channel over on Patreon. I'll either answer the question in the video, or if if there's too many or something like that, then I'll just answer them on Patreon. So the Patreon questions are guaranteed to be answered, or if you don't feel like doing that, then feel free to join the Discord, which is also linked down in the description, and you guys can just ask over there, although obviously there's no guarantee that those ones can't be answered because I just can't unfortunately answer all of them. So like I said, consider supporting the channel on Patreon, and also definitely consider joining the Discord as well. Once again, a big thank you to Dragon City for sponsoring this video. Like I said before, guys, if you do want to download Dragon City and get those extra rewards, then be sure to download that through the link in the description. It is completely free for you guys, and it does help the channel out quite a bit, so be sure to go and check that out. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new to the channel, then feel free to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on any more Battlefront 2 content. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.